Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Nick. I'm going to get right into it today because I have a lot of cool things to talk about. First and foremost, I hit 40,000 subscribers a few days ago. That is awesome. I would have never expected that. It's a ton of people. I mean, that's a ton of people. I'm not sitting here trying to brag. However, I did think it was awesome that my buddy Steve Carmichael, who also has a YouTube channel, I'll leave that link down below, he also hit 40,000 on the exact same day. I saw that and I was like, I just thought that was a weird coincidence. I know 40,000 isn't the most round number in the world, but it's a big number, and to have that happen with Steve on his channel at the exact same day, I just thought that was awesome. If you guys haven't checked out Steve's channel, definitely do that. Like I said, I'll put the link down below. He's such an amazing guy. I got a chance to meet him, and he's always smiling. His projects are really cool, and just like I said, overall good guy, and I really dig his channel. So definitely check his stuff out. And I just, I thought that was cool. 40,000 both on the same day. YouTube woodworking channels, both 40,000, both on the exact same day, and they were hours apart. So I thought that was really cool. Also, that was the goal that I set for myself for the year 2015. Now, again, granted, subscriber numbers are kind of a vanity thing. They're not necessarily super, super important. However, I can get pretty lazy when it comes to things, and I need to set goals for myself anyways. I have to. If I don't set goals, and then again, lofty goals, I tend to just get lazy, and I don't need to post a video, or I don't know. It keeps me motivated because I'm at least working towards a goal. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. On another note, the door board video, if you guys caught that video, where it's just a couple pieces of 1/4 inch, in my case MDF, you can use hardboard, tempered hardboard, 1/4 inch plywood, whatever. But that was, something I've been doing for years and years, and if you guys haven't caught that video, definitely check it out. But I got a really cool comment from Michael Oz over on Instructables, because occasionally I'll post on Instructables, and he had the idea of, on the end, putting a guard, if you guys are familiar with like a drywall T-square, kind of along that methodology, and to put a tried and true 90-degree fence, or I guess you'd have to call it a fence. That way, if you were going to line it up on any type of sheet goods, you could essentially slap it in place and rely off the factory edge and have perfect 90 degrees. And I thought that was a really, really awesome idea. And also, Greg M17, I believe, was his user handle on Instructables. He had said on his, he had done one for, on one side, he had a circular saw, and on the other side for his jigsaw, which I think that's a really good idea as well. I've seen guys do it to where one side will be a circular saw of one model, and then one side will be another circular saw of a different model, if they have maybe different blades or whatever. I don't know. That particular, in my personal preference, that makes the door board a little bit too wide. It's, because now you're talking probably 2 full-size circular saws, or one full-size one and one kind of a trim saw. And the door board just ends up being too wide. But I did think that having the circular saw on one side and a jigsaw on the other is an awesome idea. And it's not too long ago that I had a jigsaw that was essentially crap. I've had it for, 15, 16, 17, no, probably closer to 20 years. And that one didn't have like the guide bearing, the grooved guide behind the blade. And I never was able to get straight cuts with that, whether it be with a door board or not. But I upgraded my jigsaw a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, and it has that grooved guide bushing that sits behind the blade. And these blades are a more precision ground blade versus the previous model was kind of just, I don't know, that stamped steel. I'm not an expert on jigsaw blades, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about, where some of those jigsaw blades, from 15, 20 years ago are just atrocious. They're essentially die stamped, and they're not even really sharpened, versus the newer ones with kind of the T style that fits in. The old anyways, I'm rambling. But no, I thought that was really cool. And if you guys haven't checked me out on Instructables, and that's something that you guys like doing, I try to write an article on there as much as possible. And both of those ideas came from some guys over there, so I definitely appreciate that. And that was very good points to want to bring up. Moving on to the drawers, I wanted to show a couple zoomed in shots or a couple close-up shots of some of the joinery. I had a couple people email me with questions as far as the fitment and stuff like that. And there's, I mean, it's worthwhile showing. If you guys aren't familiar, on my website, nickferry.com, I tend to throw a couple additional pictures of the projects that I'm making. In fact, I'm trying to make my website kind of a hub or a source to, that's kind of the mass gathering point of anything that I'm creating, whether I'm, mentioning it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube or, I'm trying to put everything over there. So if you guys haven't gone over there, definitely check that out, because in that article I had probably 6 or 7 additional pictures to go along with the drawers, and I talked about them in the article a little bit more in depth. And that brings up another point. Michael, and I think I'm going to butcher his last name, but Skylar, he sent me a really nice email, because he signed up for my email newsletter, and it was just a really nice email to get. He was basically saying thank you, because I'm trying to feature some other channels that people may or may not be familiar with. I'm trying to feature other work that is fun and interesting and kind of cool. And so definitely go over to nickferry.com. If you're interested, you can sign up for the email newsletter, and that way you kind of stay up to date about what I'm putting on over there. And I got a couple projects I'm going to do exclusively over on the website, because they're not necessarily video related. I don't know if I can get to those anytime soon, but look for that. But yeah, no, the drawers, like I said, there was a lot of good points brought up to the drawers, and a couple good comments and a couple good questions as far as, say, like the back joint with the, just a straight up, and it's kind of like a butt joint but with a dado, so it basically has a regular dado joint. And people were saying that, well, can't you slide that back and create a tongue and dado towards the back and basically make the front and back joints identical? By all means, of course you can. And I've done that before in certain situations, to where a lot of times with, like, say, jewelry boxes, knick-knack boxes, to where that space really is kind of a premium, and it really doesn't matter. A lot of times with that, I'll just do, straight up board and a rabbet. But I basically put that video out because I wanted that to be kind of an essential, a stepping stone to, if you've never done drawers, that's a good solid method to use. And once you get that under your belt and you're getting good results with that, then you can explore into miter lock joints or dovetails or finger joints or box joints. It's just, if you have that methodology essentially in your back pocket, and you have a project come up, and the drawers aren't, they're not highly visible, and you just need to get them done, and you need them to be halfway strong. Boom, you have that skill set. So definitely, yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat on that one. And but like I said, I threw up some pictures, and they turned out pretty good. I've been doing drawers for closer to 20 years, so I mean, the practice makes perfect, I guess, on that, and you can get pretty decent results with that method. A couple other good questions. Russell Lowry had a question on, like I said, that particular method of drawer making. And, he was talking about blade changes. That brings up a very good point. When it comes to blade changes in a table saw, when you're going from like a standard 1/8 kerf blade to your dado stack at, say, 3/4, or your dado stack to 3/8. In that particular video, I think there were 3 blade changes. I think I went from the existing 1/8 kerf to 3/4, down to 3/8, and back to 1/8 kerf. So when it comes to blade changes, I typically don't have a problem with that. However, he did bring up a good point, or was wondering, in the video editing process, can that make it seem like I've done more or less blade changes? And yes, it can. That video I don't think reflected it that way, but it all depends on how it gets filmed, how it gets edited together. But yeah, sometimes, and I try to avoid that because I want to give the most, sequential process, so people are like, oh, okay, it makes more sense in the video. But I wanted to show me changing out the blade from a standard 1/8 kerf blade to say a 3/4 inch dado stack. And again, though, dialing in that 3/4 inch dado stack, that is probably where most of your time comes from. But when you're on a project and you have all your materials, it's not necessarily that bad going from a standard kerf blade back to the 3/4, because if you had any shims that you had to use with that dado stack, you know what shims you had to use. You know what chippers, what blades, and so once it's dialed in a project, yeah, then you're pretty much good to go. And I would say it only takes me probably 2, maybe 3 minutes to do blade changes. Even less when I'm going from, say, a combination blade to a rip blade, or a rip blade to a crosscut blade. And what normally resides in my saw is a 40-tooth combination blade. It's a high alternating top bevel. It does a very good job at cross cuts and rip cuts. But if I'm looking for very specific rip cuts to where I almost want them like jointed quality, so I don't even have to run them into the joiner, then I'll use a specific blade for ripping. But that's definitely a good 40 or maybe even a 50-tooth combo blade. Definitely a good blade to start out with. But like I said, blade changes for me, I actually don't mind. I know a lot of guys do complain about that. It's not something that really gets under my skin because it's 2-3 minutes. And the ease of using a dado stack, for me anyways, I just love them. So that's not a big deal for me. That's about all I had for you guys for this week. I just wanted to hurry up and get that info out. You guys had a lot of great questions, both on Instructables, my email for my newsletter, and on YouTube. So those are just awesome. I love, I love any type of comment, and I try to respond to all of them. But when it's a very technical, specific question, I have no problem sitting there writing a paragraph, because that's kind of the whole process here is I want to share my knowledge with you guys, and if I have something that I can offer you as far as things that I've done over the years, and maybe stuff that you can avoid, not get as frustrated with it, I guess that just makes it all the better. Well, until I see you guys next time, you guys take care.